Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another of our tournament march. Don't listen to Nick. He's just being an asshole now, right, guys? It's okay. Well, we're going to start off with Super Mario 64 and Assassin's Creed 2. Assassin's Creed 2 is obviously the sequel to what I think is a very boring and repetitive game, which is why I didn't want to pick Assassin's Creed, because it would get blown out of the water. Assassin's Creed 2 fixed everything in that game. It's a legendary game that I think saved this franchise and allowed it to push forward. What we think of the future now is irrelevant. This game kind of saved it. And Super Mario 64, not the 64th game in the franchise, silly people. It's the N64 edition of the game. Mario's first step into the 3D world. While it wasn't without its faults, it definitely set the stage for pretty much every game to come after it. It was revolutionary, probably the most revolutionary game out there, besides maybe Ocarina of Time. And so one of these games was revolutionary and the first to do it. One of these games perfected its prequel. Let's find out what we think is better.
Super Mario 64 is better.
Yeah. Well,
I'm willing to open it up to debates, but I will say this about Super Mario 64. That game is what spawned Sunshine, what spawned Galaxy, what spawned Odyssey. Every single 3D Mario game was based off that. Not only that, every platformer that has come afterwards that has been made in 3D has been because of that game. That game, it literally took the objective of putting from point A to point B. That was the whole only thing about platformers. You had to get to the end. That's all you had to do.
Well,
Super Mario 64 was able to transform that into 3D, surrounding you with certain tasks, and giving you just one little hint and letting you go have fun and find it. That level of exploration and simplicity has never been beaten in any platformer in my mind.
Well,
that's why Super Mario 64 is so damn good. To
play devil's advocate, so I agree that the game is good because better games came after it. Super Mario 64, it's not a good game. Like, at the time when it came out, it was fine because it was the first of its kind. There's nothing to compare it to. But if you were to rank all the 3D platformers,
what do you dislike about it then?
It's clunky. Graphically, it's not bad for the N64.
At times.
And it's an ugly game, even compared to games that came out at the same time. Banjo-Kazooie is way better looking. Conker's way better looking. Zelda's way better looking.
We already had that argument though about hyper-realism graphics versus a certain graphical style.
And I'm not talking about like graphics being better, but like I'm just saying like graphically, I don't think it peaked at where it could have been. Control-wise, I don't think it peaked where it could have been.
Hyper-realistic graphics always look like that as time progresses, though.
But I'm not comparing it.
How bad does Twilight Princess look nowadays?
It doesn't look, but it's not bad for the system it was on. I think Super Mario 64...
Super Mario 64 was like the first game that came out for the 64.
Yeah, I know, and I get, like, I don't know when Banjo-Kazooie came out. I think it was, like, maybe a year after. I don't know exactly.
I'm pretty sure it's 99.
But God, Banjo-Kazooie is just so much... that's the thing is, like...
Maybe not 99.
Mario 64 was the start of something new, right? But I feel like I can't necessarily just automatically give it my vote because it was the first to do something. Because something came out a year later that was way better and way more innovative, right? It's like comparing Super Mario Bros. to Super Mario Bros. 3.
I don't think it was a year later. It was way more down the road, especially when I was looking up research.
Banjo-Kazooie is 1998.
Banjo-Kazooie was down.
That was
down the road.
So I think that's 2 years then, because I think Mario 64 was 96. Anyway.
Okay, and there's way more time of developing for the same console.
Shut up.
And Rare also working. I'm just saying, if you're talking about the clunkiness of Super Mario 64, first of all, I will say it is basically the perfect game for the N64 console. When you think of the 64 console, you think of Super Mario 64. The controller was basically designed for that game. It was the first to use like a full 3D range of motion. It was, somebody want to say something there?
No, keep going.
Full 3D range of motion. Yes, the camera wasn't the best, but it was the start. And also, in terms of level design, that also influenced Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie. It also influenced all those games as well. I understand what you're saying about Super Mario. I know we're getting a little more into this one as we should have, but I know you're saying Super Mario 64 is the start, and you like the games that came back afterwards. Do you think Assassin's Creed 2 is better than the ones that came after it?
Yes, besides maybe Black Flag, I think Assassin's Creed 2 completely improved what Assassin's Creed... Because Assassin's Creed was boring. Like, it did the same type of mission over and over again. Assassin's Creed 2, I feel like, started from scratch. What I love about this game is they absolutely listen to the fans. Everyone is complaining about Assassin's Creed being repetitive and the missions just being trailing and all that. They listened to people. They said, we're sorry, and they put out a better product, which is why I think that game stood out to me here, because they understood that they had faults, and they fixed those things, and what came out next was a legendary title. And I think Pat mentioned it. What's underrated about this game is the music. the game is set like in that ancient Italy and Rome, or not Rome, but ancient Italy area. I guess not ancient, but you know what I mean. It was like 1,000 years ago or so, and so it was all during like that kind of Renaissance period, and Leonardo da Vinci was in the game, and so the music that they had was absolutely perfect for the setting that it was in, which is one of the things I liked about it. The collectibles in the game were not required, which I liked. You can get the feathers and the notes if you want. You don't have to get any of it. But again, I think what I love about this game is the historical significance. It's historically accurate in terms of the setting and the environment. Obviously, there was no apple of Eden that gave people magical powers in Italy, but in terms of the setting, it was realistic. So that's the thing I like about that game.
So here, I have a different way to gauge this on which one's better. So Super Mario 64 went for a fun 3D platformer that was really fun that you could just run around and explore. Like when they created Mario 64, they didn't even design any of the levels before they made sure that Mario just felt fun to move around and jump around. Assassin's Creed 2 went for the historical aspect and whatnot with the music. Which one do you think had their goal achieved better? How about that? Do you think that's a fair gauge to debate this on, Mike?
Yeah, and that's a hard question to answer, Nick.
For you, it's easy, and for me, it's easy because I'm saying Super Mario 64 because that's all they did. They only focused on the Mario aspect of it, jumping and moving around. And yes, it did pave the road, but it still stands alone as its own game. I would still go back and play Super Mario 64. I think that certain games are better. I think Super Mario 64 DS is my favorite. Like between the two, but I will say in terms of which game achieved their goal better, I think Super Mario 64 did. In terms of the legacy that is left behind, Super Mario 64 left behind a bigger legacy than Assassin's Creed.
That's I can't deny that at all. But I just think, does that make it a better game?
If it achieves the goals that it was going for, I would say so.
But
I confused him.
No, because I'm torn on this. I like arguing with you about Mario 64 because I know we disagree, but in my head, this is one of the toughest ones I think I've had to decide between so far. Because you're right, it's legacy of what Mario 64 did. Even though I don't like the game, it set the stage for so much. Assassin's Creed 2 perfected something, but it's kind of a forgettable game in that same regard.
Yeah. I would say one of the reasons is because Assassin's Creed has had its blunders. Like Assassin's Creed 1 you said was bad, Assassin's Creed 3 I hear is bad. Like I don't hear many people that are jumping to let's go back and play Assassin's Creed 2.
I don't like you.
Not many people
fuck.
Yeah.
I gotta vote Super Mario 64 though. Damn it.
Same.
Yeah.
Because that was the first.
Sorry, that one's got to be like a dead giveaway.
To it too.
Yeah. No, I know.
Because up until
I was hoping Mario 64. Fuck.
Yeah. Because up until Odyssey, 64 is my favorite Mario.
Yeah. It's really good.
I was hoping it'd be a better matchup. So, because I couldn't pick Assassin's Creed 2 over it. I was hoping we'd have a better matchup so I could argue against it, but I couldn't. Mario 64 deserves to go on. Damn it. Anyway, this next matchup...
That was a long one, but that was for Mario 64, though.
I'm really excited about this next matchup.
Yeah, this one's
going to be good.
I love both of these games.
Yeah, well, that's what's fun about this. It's Metroid Prime versus Celeste. Metroid Prime, I don't have to introduce that game at all. It's iconic from Nintendo. A very well-established and famous franchise. Celeste, it comes from Matt Makes Games, I believe.
Matt Makes Games?
A little less known than Nintendo, I would say. But both these games are equally incredible and equally left an impression, I think, on all of us. One comes from a huge company, one comes from an indie developer. But both are Titan games, so it's going to be interesting to see if Celeste can pull out the upset against the big dog, or if the big dog's going to move on. So let's start.
So here's what I want to say first about this matchup. Metroid Prime is probably, especially if Big Mike was here, oh my god, he'd be going gung-ho wanting Metroid Prime to win the whole entire bracket. I think he said Echoes is his favorite, and he says Echoes basically perfects Prime. But in terms of what Prime did, keep in mind what the Metroid series was before. Before, I think the only game before it was, the newer installment was Super Metroid. And from them to make the jump into a first-person shooter game like that again keeps the lore of the Metroids, of the Chozo statues. I don't know all the lore about it, but I am 100% in appreciation of what Metroid Prime has done in terms of showing that Nintendo's yeah, we want to make our own first-person shooter game. This is how we do it. Before Splatoon. Celeste, though, I will say this: Celeste is basically, I hate to say it, it's like a new top 5 game for me, which is going to make this one hard, because Celeste is, it's just, a game that breaks the mold of every single time when you play it and pick up a controller. Like, even like I got this game for Christmas for my sister, and she's loved it. And I've never seen her play like a brutal platformer like this. This is a game that encapsulates people who doesn't even like that genre of games and still gets you with its story. So both of the games can seem a very basic. That's what I'm gonna say about these games. Both of these games can seem pretty basic on paper, but have extreme depth past that.
Oh my God.
And that's one of the things that I think is amazing.
Yeah, and I think what I would say is both of these games do a great job at telling a story without needing dialogue specifically telling you. Metroid Prime almost has no dialogue at all.
None.
But you know what's going on, and yeah,
it's all exposition. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, and Celeste only has very limited points where there's dialogue, but yet everything you're doing is telling a story. So both these games have incredibly well-told stories without needing to just have boring exposition, like you said. And so, like I said,
I would say that these games both do the meaningful gameplay to some of the best that's ever been done.
Yeah, and I think both these games deserve to move past the first round. I think I'm kind of sad that they're both.
It's not happening though.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad they're facing each other right now because I probably would have voted for both these against most of the other ones, but I don't know. The thing I like about Metroid Prime is the exploration in it is great. It's hard to knock Celeste for that, and Celeste did have some cool alternate routes to get strawberries and stuff. But Metroid Prime, like, especially
and
at the
B-side
time,
tracks.
Yeah, but at the time, like, Metroid Prime was perfect for exploration. Like, again, without needing to say anything, you could go on these extra things, and every single plant and growth, like, had a story if you scanned everything, and the way you just find power-ups throughout the world, like, it was basically like a futuristic Breath of the Wild in terms of exploring the planet and interacting with all the nooks and crannies. It wasn't as in-depth because it was an original GameCube game that was a new IP.
Yeah, but it is still stunning. Like, I played it just, like, maybe 2 years ago, and they still hold up. Like, I'm like, wow, I can't believe this is a GameCube game that I'm playing right now.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
On the GameCube.
Yeah, and the variety, the puzzle solving was great in it, too.
Oh my God, yeah. The way that you are able to, like, go back to the same, like, places that you've been, but because now you have, like, a different power-up, you get to explore even more of that part of the map. It's so good.
I will say this as well. I think Metroid Prime has done... It hurts me to say it, but just because of the genre set in, I think Metroid Prime has done more... I mean, I know I would argue that certain games like Halo has probably had more of an impact, but in terms of... In terms of progressing the genre, I would say Metroid Prime has done more to progress shooters than Celeste has done for platforms.
But I would also
hurting on Celeste because sorry, go.
Well, I would argue that I feel like that was a good comparison for the last one. I feel like it's unfair to Celeste because it's an indie game. Metroid Prime, I feel like is like that.
Yeah.
Almost because it's Nintendo. Of course, like anything Nintendo puts out is going to be a staple. You know.
I would like to point out that Celeste was still voted as one of the top games of the
year last year. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's
like,
really freaking good
for an indie game. Like, how many other indie games have even achieved that even a little bit?
Right.
They have a specific category, but I'm pretty sure Celeste kicked all their asses.
Right. Like, they obviously will have a specific category, but like for as small of a game as it is, to be able to have that kind of an impact shows a lot about how good the game actually was to start off.
How about this, Travis? Metroid Prime. How long did it take you to beat?
Oh God, I have no idea. A long time.
Because how about this? If you want to compare something else, I would say Celeste is a more compact and focused game. If you want to say like it can deliver a great experience in a shorter amount of time. If you want to say
especially
that
if you're not aiming on
getting
the strawberries or anything, but like
yeah,
because with Prime,
if you want to say like a concise game.
Yeah, because like in Prime, you just get so engulfed in the world that you don't even realize that you're not even trying to go to the objective right now because you're like, I see this and this might lead to like a missile upgrade or something else, and then you end up just playing for a couple hours and you thought it was 10 minutes.
All right, well this hurts me. I think we should just vote at this point. As much as I hate to say it, it's Metroid Prime.
Metroid Prime.
I think Metroid Prime is just the better game. I love Celeste. It's one of my top 5 favorite games, I would say now, but Metroid Prime is just, in terms of, it was better.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree, too. I think, like you said, it set the stage for something beautiful. The exploration was awesome. Celeste is great, and it's fun to go back to, and I think it's fun to speedrun and also explore the story, but Metroid Prime with the first-person shooter for a Nintendo game was groundbreaking, and it's hard to go against that. It takes
meaningful gameplay into a level that Celeste never had, and it hurts. I like Celeste so much, I wanted to see it go farther.
I cannot wait for Metroid Prime 4.
You're going to be waiting for a while, buddy.
I know I'm waiting for a while, but if it means that it'll be excellent, I'm glad they didn't just rush out some garbage.
Yeah.
All right, bye,
that's
everybody.
it. Yeah, bye.